guys? Welcome back to another week of the weekly roundup. It's week 28, obviously joined by Cryptoinsightuk UK,
That's me.
and we're going to present the news to you. Jump into the charts. Got some exciting XRP news at the end as well,
Big
as usual.
XRP news. Big XRP news.
It's pretty big. If
There's
I
a
don't say so
lot.
myself, it's pretty big.
There's a lot of XRP news
Yeah,
today.
yeah. We go into like in depth in it on the newsletter, but we'll also cover it today, just to treat you watchers on YouTube as well. But we'll kick off with some news. Obviously, China will delay the release of the Q3 economic indicators, including GDP. Obviously, trying to hide something. It's not going well for anyone at the moment, but China feel the need to yet again hide their information. Maybe they're going to try and fabricate it somehow, but it just kind of leads me into the next tab, which is the only reason why I put it in there, because Japan are obviously also in the mud at the moment. Again, with something we speak about in the newsletter, Will kind of goes into it and starts discussing the 10-year bonds. So maybe he's probably the best person to speak about it, but
They're in the mud, bro. They're in the
in the
mud.
mud, it's not good.
Both China and Japan are in the mud. Seriously, like imagine like a country not releasing their Q3 economic reports indefinitely, not
It's
releasing
that
them as
bad.
well. They're not even said, oh yeah, we're like collating it so we can release it a week later because some extra info came in. They're just like,
What?
oh yeah,
Why?
don't fancy releasing it this quarter.
The hell, they're that embarrassed of the results. Like
Must be,
everyone knows,
bro.
everyone's like struggling at the moment.
Oh, it's mad. And then Japan at the same time, like 10-year treasuries breaking out, like when they've been doing yield curve control for however long and they're still breaking out. It's like, who's selling it? Like the government selling selling out of their own fucking out of their own treasuries to the to the treasury, and the treasury like, oh
It's
crap, let's just keep buying it anyway.
it's an absolute mess. Like I've obviously read what you wrote in the newsletter anyway, because I've been editing it. And it's just like I was reading it and I was just laughing to myself. Like they basically just made their currency like worthless. It just doesn't mean anything anymore. But obviously the reason I've included this tab in here is because obviously Japan further relaxed crypto rules by easing listing of tokens. They're trying to become a lot of it. They already are crypto friendly, but they're trying to really shift their focus back onto crypto because this is almost like their way out of their current situation. Their current situation is that bad that they really are going to start to try and push crypto, and then maybe this is just the start of what they're going to do in the future. God knows what they plan to do. Because obviously, like we know, they're already quite crypto friendly. They're already using blockchain technology, etc. So let's just see what happens. But obviously, Japan are in a mess. They're now easing listing for crypto tokens, which is just potentially the start of them embracing it with open arms this time. So trying to
Yeah.
help them save the mess.
Yeah, it's mad. Like they're just saying, "Oh, let's basically just let anyone list any token in Japan," and I think that's the way it should be anyway. Like if you want to research a crypto project and you want to invest in something, that's up to you. Like you need to
Yeah, I
do the
guess it's
digging.
like a
You
company
should
stock, isn't it?
yeah, you should have some protection. I agree, but like if someone wants to listen, then they should just be able to list it. Like just like anyone can start a company.
Yeah.
I know anyone can't just invest into that company, but at the same time, you can still buy a product from it. But it does make me think, and like it's a bit XRP conspiracy, but Yoshitaka Kitao, who's like I think he's like the chair of SBI, isn't it? He said that by 2025, everyone in Japan's going to be using XRP,
Yeah, yeah, he did say that. We
and
did cover that in an episode. I can't remember which one it was.
it is looking like they need something, but I'm not necessarily going to say XRP. But there's a lot of bullish news for XRP at the minute. I
Yeah,
can't
I just
even.
feel like everyone needs something at the moment. Like whether they like it or not, everyone needs some sort of technology which is going to help the mess because everything's just completely effed up at the moment. I don't want to curse, but it's just ridiculous. Like not just Japan or China. You can look at any major economy right now. You can just see it all crumbling. So they need something. They need, i.e., blockchain technology. They need something to help them get out of this mess. But we'll move on anyway from that because the next two tabs also relate to each other. We spoke about Mastercard last week, I think, with their partnership. But Mastercard is launching a program to let financial institutions offer crypto trading to their clients.
Hmm.
Then we might as well read this one as well. Fidelity's crypto platform to add ether trading for their institutional clients. So two massive names offering services that will allow crypto trading to their clients. Massively bullish again. Same thing. I like what I said last week. These massive companies are just building for what's to come because they can also see what we see. They're
Hmm.
reading the same news that we're reading, if not obviously way more advanced stuff in terms of how countries are really struggling at the moment, and they're looking towards alternatives as well, i.e., crypto, i.e., blockchain. They want to get a piece of the pie almost. So when it does kind of get adopted by everyone, and there's a bit of regulation to it, they're ready because they've got these platforms ready that their institutional clients can just use.
Exactly
So
that,
massive news that is.
and the longer the price stays down here, the better it is for like any institution because they're just scooping up all their reserves, getting all their infrastructure ready, and then as soon as the price starts to go back up, they're just going to start selling it into the public at a profit, or even to institutions at a big profit, and just have like mad reserves in whatever crypto they want, and they've just scooped it up for like way less than it should be, just because they're probably adding to the foot, or maybe even selling heavily into the market to keep that price suppressed and just building their own bags like OTC or whatever. Just, it's a crazy time. Like, the longer we're down here, the better it is for institutions, and the more of a spring and a push higher I think we'll go.
Mm. And just to kind of link into those two as well, actually, um, the FASB moves fair value accounting for crypto holdings. So I've not read too much into this, but the whole gist of the whole article is that the fair value accounting of crypto world will allow companies to report losses and gains immediately and treat the asset like a traditional financial asset. So, i.e., companies are going to be more willing to hold crypto on their balance sheet, and this particular paragraph stands out for me just because of what they said here, as they want to treat it as a traditional financial asset, which is obviously what a lot of people are arguing right now. What is crypto? What isn't crypto? So it's good. These three types are majorly bullish, in my opinion. People building, and it's just going to help boost everything up in the future. But one thing that isn't going to help boost anything is a lot of people, i.e., the SEC, and actually I think the CFTC as well, are also like investigating 3 Arrows Capital and how they kind of like filed for bankruptcy, etc. They're just kind of looking into that, and also looking into FTX as well, for potentially violating state law by offering unregistered securities. Something we hear pretty much every week now is that the SEC going after massive companies and whatnot over violating state law. But again, people stifling innovation. Maybe they do have to do stuff like this. Obviously, investigate why why certain things happened, who was responsible for it, see if there's any wrongdoings. I get that, but yeah, again, it's just another week, another company getting hunted down by some sort of authority.
Just the SEC again, and like they're a madness, and then kind of takes on to the next slide, I guess.
Does take us on to the next one because they're under pressure. But again, I remember I can't remember what week it was of the weeks roundup. There was like, I think there's 3-4 weeks in a row where we were literally reporting someone else going after the SEC, someone else going after the SEC. But that's kind of calmed down. But it's back again because Brian Brooks, he tweeted here, proud to support Grayscale and join the US Chamber and others challenging the SEC's government and continuing denial of the spot Bitcoin ETF, which has been a hot topic for like best part of like a year now in terms of getting a spot ETF approved in the US. SEC continuing to full on deny it, and just any application delay, deny kind of thing. So they get under more pressure. Brian Brooks has joined in on this now, weighed in as well. What do you think? Do you think we'll see one probably next year now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that it's like just doesn't make any sense. The big problem with it is like they've not just denied it; they just deny it and then they don't tell anyone how they could get one approved in the future. And it's a similar story. I don't know if we talked about this last week on the weekly roundup, or we just talked about this on the phone. It's a similar story to like what the Federal Reserve have been doing with Caitlin Long's like suing the Federal Reserve because they put like statements out last week saying that no one can custody Bitcoin because no one knows what it is, and then the week later, then BNY Mellon come out and can custody Bitcoin, like one of the biggest custodians in the world, like with like 46 trillion or whatever under management. It's like, how can these regulators or legacy financial institutions or people in positions of huge authority be like saying one thing and doing another, like blatantly in the face of people who are trying to apply for things and asking for regulation and doing all these sorts of things by the book in a country that's trying to like promote innovation and one that like harnessed the innovation of the internet, and that's why they're essentially one of the reasons they stayed a world leader. And then now they're doing the opposite at the minute for crypto. It's like, it's a bit mind-blowing, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we say it pretty much every week. Like the US is constantly shooting themselves in the foot at the moment in terms of stifling innovation. When you concentrate on like crypto specifically and social blockchain, they just don't really want to know anything about it at the moment, which is a bit odd considering that their financial system's on the brink of collapse. Like they just refuse to adopt that technology, and even now, like I just think like it just gets ridiculous. Like every week they leave it, the more damage they're doing to their economy, kind of thing. So just everything. So they need a U-turn on this stance that they've got, in my opinion. Obviously, it's easy for us to say we're not making decisions or dealing with the consequences of it, but to us it's clear that they need to change something and adopt some sort of new system slash technology. But they just refuse to do it. Refuse to do it because the SEC are just being the SEC. We won't go into that because we can sit here and talk about the SEC and all their wrongdoings all day.
I hate the SEC.
But one thing we're starting to move into XRP now, slash Ripple kind of thing. So XLS20, something we spoke about, I think about a month ago now. It obviously got delayed because there was a bug. I think they've obviously sorted it now, and now it's expected for Halloween.
Yep.
Perfect timing. So what's the vote? Is the vote what percentage threshold was it supposed to be again? Was it 80?
It has to be over 80. So if it's flat on 80, it doesn't count. It has to be over 80 and stay over 80 for 2 weeks. And I last checked and it was at 90 something. So that was like obviously a tweet from the 18th.
So
and I
more
checked.
than likely, ETA is going to be October 31st.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good news for Ripple and for XRP actually. And the ledger. So this is exciting, something we've been waiting for a long time now, and let's just see what impact that has, if any, on price or any hype or anything like that, which could do because it's a pretty big thing in my opinion. Obviously, we've got NFTs on the XRPL now, so
yeah, well,
it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
When we saw like NFTs come through for Cardano, when we saw NFTs come through for Solana, obviously, and ETH, like ETH's obviously the big one, but Solana and Cardano also both had runs on the price of their token when NFTs were introduced. So it could be a huge one, like coupled up in the time in and around when Flare comes out, which I'm not going to get to into detail on right now because we might touch on that next week. But like there's a lot of catalysts coming out all at the same sort of time for XRP that really could like push this price up. And I've had some extra cash on the side, like waiting potentially for a dip to see if we do come back down to test like a key area for XRP, like 39 cents or somewhere I'd have my eye on. But I'm thinking of deploying this cash just because I'd rather just not miss the push up for an extra 10% down really.
Yeah, smart move. Even if you look at like the chart, which we'll look into at the end a bit more in depth, like it's getting like squeezed between 200 MA. This is on a daily, by the way, and this resistance has been. So it's at quite a point where it could just pop out of this and just kind of enter a different range, kind of thing. And what better catalyst than XLS20? So it could be a good shout. But then again, what do we know in terms of what's going on in the market at the moment? Because anything can happen, guys. But if you're looking for a catalyst to potentially come at a good time in the charts, XS20 is there. And 31st, when is that then? So 11 days from now. So could line up perfectly. It could line up perfectly. But something else that we're hoping that could line up perfectly is this. So we always put it in here. Holy shit, I'm writing about something interesting in this week's newsletter. It's to do with South Africa. It's to do with XRP. Will's excited. I'm excited. I've only just read about it today, to be fair.
When it's crazy, man.
The newsletter. So, and it kind of like made me smile. I was reading it and I just had a big smile on my face reading the whole thing. So I will let Will kind of discuss it because I don't have too much knowledge about it. But go on, Will. Tell them what's going on. Tell them what's going on in South Africa.
I do go really deep into this on the newsletter. Well, not really deep, but for a few pages. And essentially, we're just going to go the long and the short of it for this weekly roundup. Mercury FX and Zago are like two payment providers in South Africa. And they've done 3 cross-border tests in South Africa. 2 of them, Mercury FX and Zago, both specifically use XRP. As you can see right there, with Mercury FX, they specifically reference XRP. They don't even talk about Ripples. They're not even using Ripple's payment services, it looks like. They tested in August 2021. Zago, I think, in March of 22. They both... Another interesting thing that I just think is mind-blowing is both the transaction tests are to the UK. Both of the tests are to the UK. Like what is going on? What is going on? So, and we know that Zago have a stable coin on the XRP ledger, like one of the first people to do that. And I don't know, like it's just flipping exciting. They both, like Zago obviously reference Ripple and XRP for their cross-border payments. and Mercury FX just reference XRP, the digital asset. So I don't know. There's some news to beat the fudders who just say, oh yeah, XRP not Ripple, and XRP is not being used for anything. It's there, and this is from the Reserve Bank of South Africa, by the way. This isn't just like a random article. This is from the Reserve Bank of South Africa, taken from their website, published like this was published on the 12th of October, and there was some more news published yesterday or today, but like we'll go into quite depth on that on the newsletter. But this is basically the gist of it. I don't know how much. What else we could say about that, bro? Like, what do you think?
No, I think that's spot on. To be fair, obviously, like you just discussed it in terms of like the potential implications it's going to have on XRP and stuff like that in the newsletter. But it's another it's one of those things that we've reported on. How many episodes now we've reported on a document from an official institution kind of thing, not just like a random source. It's a proper document here, and it's there. It's just how you choose to interpret the information in front of you, kind of thing. And I will say it again, like it adds to our speculation that XRP is going to be used for exactly like this, and it's just making that educated guess kind of thing in your investments. And this is another piece of information to add to that long list of documents we have now that suggest XRP could potentially be used for something massive like this. So whether you choose to acknowledge it or ignore it and kind of say, oh, we've heard it all before about people talking about XRP, we'll let them sit in their circle, and then we'll let us kind of interpret information like this the way we do, because I see this as just massively bullish. Like, how can you not? You're sitting here saying it's not bullish for XRP or Ripple or separately, whatever.
Settling payments
you're lost
between South Africa and the UK, a BRICS nation, and the UK, there's not, from the Reserve Bank of South Africa, the news is like incredible. Incredible.
It's huge. It is huge. Let's see what comes out of it. Obviously, time will tell. Time will tell with that. But we'll jump into the markets quickly. Again, Bitcoin being Bitcoin, sorry, has just stayed flat again for another week. Becoming a recurring topic now. I just feel like some moves have got to happen here. Like, you never see crypto market become this stagnant. Come on, look at it. It's actually been in this price point since we obviously capitulated back in June. Obviously, we reached the 25k mark, but we're back down. But even if, like, yesterday I was looking at the chart, and even if you look here when we were gathering up here back in May, and now we compare it to October, look how small the candle / percentage changes are in comparison to back in May, or compared to here. It just doesn't look like Bitcoin anymore. It's almost turned into like
a stable
coin. I don't know, let's compare it to oil. It's almost turned into the way oil was before that started blowing up. Look how small the candle daily closes are, and then this has just started going volatile now. So they kind of almost switch places, which is a bit just an observation. It doesn't really mean anything. It just means like people don't know what's going on, and there's just that much worry in the markets at the moment.
Well, they say that the best way to shake someone out of the market is just make the market go sideways.
Exactly. So all these people are just getting bored of the market now. Boom, and then when it goes back up, it's too late. But unfortunately, it's boring for us as well, because we've got nothing to report on in terms of like the prices of certain cryptos, because nothing's really moving at the moment. But one thing that is moving is XRP. It's 2.7% up today. Like I said, stuck between this resistance and this 200 MA here on a daily. XLS20 coming out in 11 days. Will that provide us with the momentum to push up here? Granted, nothing happens to Bitcoin. I'll lean towards yes. Obviously, slight bias towards being an XRP holder, but we've also got like the 100 MA here about to bullish across the 200 MA, which could also carry up there as well. So XRP is looking all right, to be fair, if I'm being brutally honest. I know I'm biased, but it's looking quite nice. But it depends what happens with Bitcoin, because that will just move the market regardless. Say if that falls 15, 20% or goes up 15, 20%, XRP should, in theory, follow. But other from that, I can't see anything new in the markets. I was going to speak about oil, but I'm going to speak about that next week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In the news and in the weekly roundup, we'll add it in there. But everything else has been quite stagnant. Nothing else really to report on, unless you've seen anything. Have you seen anything interesting in the chart?
Just the DXY was kind of interesting. It was setting set like a slightly lower high. Look there. Yeah, and I did see one other time where it did that. If you look just to the left a little bit where it like touches that MA there, that's the only other time that it has set like a lower high. If you go up a little bit there, yeah, look, then it comes down, and
Yeah,
then it sets like a slightly lower high there, but then it does actually manage to break
yeah,
out of that range. But let's see what happens here. Like, it is for me
mm,
the volatility trade obviously is to the downside. There's a lot more space down as there is up. There's
yeah,
a lot of
100%.
people obviously long in this, so a short trade if we start breaking ranges should cascade down kind of quick. So let's see. I do think we are starting to top out a little bit with the DXY, but obviously there is space for it to run up just as much, like to continue, but not as much space as there is for it to come down, in my opinion.
But now what I'm saying is that's pretty much spot on, and I kind of singing from the same hymn sheet in that respect because obviously I think there's more of a chance that the DXY goes down now opposed to going up. Because when you look at it in the past, it's just kind of been on this journey where it's setting higher highs. It's had a lot of momentum, not necessarily gone too oversold on the RSI. But back in September, obviously, it went massively oversold, hit that high. And now it's kind of like teetering around here. So it will be interesting to see how it reacts to that 100 MA there on the daily. Because I just think when it reacts with that, if you compare it to all these other instances, there's way more chances for it to fall down and start rolling over on itself. But like I said, it's just something that you have to keep an eye on because, like Will just said, there is obviously the scope. It still goes up to that 120 mark, which we were speaking about months ago on our Twitter. So there is still that. That's still in the question. I'm not saying that, but I'm just thinking if we're just looking at the chart and general momentum of the indicators, etc., it's not looking as strong as it has done when it's
No.
been approaching 100 MA. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it looks
But
like it's slowing down to
again,
me.
that's another thing. Time will tell. Time will tell with that.
Time will tell, and
Everything's a waiting game at the moment.
there's pressure on the
Everything's a
Fed.
waiting game at the moment.
Yeah, there's pressure on the Fed. Bonds are breaking out in the US. Like the DXY is
Mm,
looking like it's topping, and all these things pushed together like do equal DXY potentially topping as well. So let's see. It's
yeah,
just how strong can the Fed stay? What actually will
this is what I
happen?
mean. Yeah, what I'll end with is obviously I know pretty much like most weeks we've been shouting about this Fed pivot. We've been shouting about some sort of change in something because it can't carry on the way it is. And as weeks go on, especially right now, I feel like we are closer than ever to see this pivot or change around in sentiment kind of thing. Because if things carry on the way they do, there will be nothing left. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just there's only one way this is going to go if it carries on, and it's just absolute collapse of everything.
Yeah, it's
So
chaos.
I'm almost like thinking I hope they change now. And before I was thinking, yeah, I think they need to, but now I'm at the point where I'm thinking I really hope they actually like do something about this. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it's not going to be good news for
no,
anyone, no matter what you're invested in.
it's
But
not.
yeah, we'll leave you with that
That's kind of like what I
depressing
wrote about in
thought.
the newsletter. I wrote like a big section on
Yeah,
that, talking about like how I think you should play it in the newsletter, and like my personal opinion. So,
mm,
if you are interested in to see how we want to, like I personally would play it this market right now, I don't normally do that, to be honest. And every other week, I've never really put my own like opinion on how I'd put my portfolio out there. This week, I've been really open about my
yeah,
own portfolio, and I've said what I think people should do from my own opinion. Obviously, not financial advice with your
mm,
portfolio, and I think that it's definitely time to be paying attention to something like that now. If you're not sure what to do with your portfolio, it's probably a time to check out a newsletter. Like if you don't enjoy it or whatever, you don't think it's worth the value, I'll refund you. Like I've said before, but it's time to have a look at something like that. In my opinion, if you're unsure or you just want an extra opinion, that's where I stand with it. Anyway, I've gone quite into depth on that.
mm. Yeah. I think right now is the time where you need to be making the correct decisions. Basically, I'm not saying we're correct all the time because we're not. But if you're less really like worried about markets, this is the time that you need to be almost consulting some sort of expert, whether it be is or something out doing your own research, like newsletter aside, do
Yeah,
your own research. Like don't make any stupid investments at the moment.
and how much weight you want to put on our opinion is completely up to you, but it's an extra opinion of someone like, for me, for example, who I wouldn't say I'm like an expert, but I am a professional because I do this for my whole life. Like, I'm not a professional financial advisor, but I'm a professional investor because this is my life. And so whether you want to put weight on my thoughts or not, that's completely up to you. But having those extra thoughts from someone who stares at charts and the markets all day maybe or may not be worth it for you, but if you're struggling, an extra opinion's never bad in my thought process anyway.
Jay agree. And on that note, we'll leave you with that, guys, and we'll see you next week in week 29. Peace up.
Peace up, A Town down.